Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us, because today we're going to unpack some incredibly fascinating, seemingly bizarre, but wonderfully structured narratives. We're taking a deep, somewhat deadpan dive into the architecture of escalating logistical disasters and, well, severe domestic supply chain failures. And the best part? These are all drawn directly from classic childhood storytelling frameworks. We'll be looking at everything from structural engineering collapses involving very heavy mammals, all the way to profound disappointments involving late-night snacks. So let's jump right in and see how these chaotic situations actually follow a super strict mathematical progression.
To kick things off, we really have to ask ourselves a foundational question. It's a question that literally sets off an entire chain reaction of logistical nightmares. What happens when a fat elephant gets stuck in the rain? I know, it sounds like a simple, almost whimsical setup, right? But if we look at this from a systems analysis perspective, we're dealing with a severe environmental hazard. We've got a heavy, large-scale entity that is completely compromised by weather conditions, and how they respond to this single point of failure sets the perfect stage for our very first case study.
Which brings us right to Section 1, the growing caravan of elephants, the escalating elephant logistical crisis.
Okay, let's map out this chronological escalation step by step, because it happens fast. In step 1, our primary elephant gets scared of the rain clouds. But instead of just, seeking shelter, it decides to call for backup, which brings us to step 2. Now we have two massive elephants, but they've somehow chosen to navigate an incredibly narrow path. Predictably, they get completely stuck. So what do? They call for a third. In step 3, 3 elephants decide to mount a small bicycle. Now, from a pure physics and structural engineering standpoint, this is absolutely doomed from the start. The bicycle naturally fails to support the immense weight. In a total panic, they summon a fourth. Step 4 reveals 4 elephants attempting to sit on a vegetable cart, resulting in the complete destruction of the cart and a total collapse of the vegetables. The math here is simple, but honestly, it's devastating. Every single time you add an elephant, you get a dramatically more severe structural failure.
But you know what's truly fascinating here? It's the specific communication protocol they use throughout this entire disaster. Every single time a crisis pops up, whether it's the rain, a tight squeeze, or a crushed bicycle, they use the exact same distress beacon. Come here, come here, come here. It's repetitive, it's super urgent, and it is highly effective at recruiting more elephants right into the disaster zone. It really highlights a glaring flaw in their crisis management strategy, doesn't it? Their only solution to a problem is to literally add more mass to it, which directly leads to the next catastrophe.
And that compounding strategy ultimately leads to our climax in Section 2, Traps and Freedom, the culmination of the elephant caravan.
So, after the whole vegetable cart disaster, the 4 elephants use their come here protocol one last time to summon a fifth. And where do these 5 massive wandering mammals inevitably end up? Together, completely trapped inside a monkey's net. The exponential growth of their group, which originally started because they were seeking safety in numbers, has paradoxically resulted in a mass entrapment event. Their sheer size and numbers just made them a completely unmissable, clumsy target.
But how do they escape? This is where the source material introduces a brilliant, completely unexpected psychological tactic. Instead of panicking, the 5 trapped elephants look at the monkey and just start laughing. They deploy collective humor to disarm their captor. It's a genius de-escalation technique. In step 2, the monkey, who's probably confused or maybe just amused, simply removes the net. And step 3 shows the immediate aftermath. Total freedom, celebrated by all 5 elephants swaying and dancing together in perfect coordination. The crisis is resolved not by brute force, but by psychology.
All right, we're going to do a total pivot now. From outdoor, heavy mammal logistics, let's dive into our second case study in Section 3, Fan, Peanuts, and the Parrot, Analyzing Domestic Supply Chain Failures. We are presented here with 2 perfectly parallel, highly repetitive domestic environments. In the first scenario, we have Ajay. He's sleeping beneath a running ceiling fan. In the second parallel scenario, we have Mooney, who is also sleeping beneath a running ceiling fan. In both situations, an identical biological trigger happens. They wake up incredibly hungry in the middle of the night. This hunger drives the urgent acquisition of one very specific resource, peanuts. Ajay procures his own peanuts, while Mooney relies on a third party, Vijay, to bring hers. The environmental consistency across these 2 data points is just absolutely striking.
But then, disaster strikes the supply chain.
They open the peanut shells and find exactly 0 peanuts inside. 0 grains, a complete and utter void. And this sudden shocking lack of sustenance triggers an immediate and severe breakdown of familial ties. The response to the 0 peanut crisis is an aggressive declaration: "We are not your uncle." Because the uncle failed to provide the essential goods, his status as a family member is instantly revoked. It is a ruthless, highly transactional view of domestic relationships driven entirely by a caloric deficit.
So to repair this totally shattered social fabric, the uncle has to engage in a bizarre, high-stakes compensatory action. Track this timeline with me. In Phase 1, the disgraced uncle travels all the way to the city of Kota. In Phase 2, he returns, but not with replacement peanuts. Nope, he brings back a parrot. Phase 3 is where balance is finally restored. The parrot eats grain, which is highly ironic considering that's the exact sustenance the humans were just denied, and then sings a song for the uncle. This successfully entertains the family and resolves the household tension. It's a spectacular pivot from a snack-based economy directly into an entertainment-based economy.
Now, let's see how all this chaos builds into our final segment today. Section 4, the era of digital education, the modern solution to childhood narratives.
We've spent this entire explainer looking at disorganized counting, structural collapses, and incredibly erratic supply chains. But the source material ultimately directs us to a much more controlled environment, the Apples and Bananas app. Instead of learning to count by watching elephants break bicycles, users are offered structured puzzles and games. Instead of learning about scarcity through empty peanut shells, they get dedicated reliable modules for English, math, and colors. The app literally systematizes all these foundational learning concepts, the stories, the songs, the logic, into one safe, predictable digital ecosystem. It takes the whimsical chaos we just spent time analyzing and neatly packages the whole shebang into an efficient, educational interface.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to wrap up our explainer. Is digital education the future of our stories? As we transition from these wild, imaginative tales of elephants outsmarting monkeys and parrots saving domestic disputes, to streamlined app-based learning modules, what do we actually gain in efficiency? And what might we lose in pure, unpredictable imagination? It's a really fascinating evolution of how information gets passed down to the next generation. Thank you so much for joining me on this analytical journey today. Keep asking questions, and I will see you in the next explainer.